elections. Now, we've been speaking about South Africa's upcoming local government elections on the 4th of November. Now, the Commission wrapping up its final voter registration weekend this weekend. While the IEC has been encouraging eligible citizens to register, concerns remain over youth participation, with many young South Africans still choosing not to vote. The Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa, EISA, says the experiences of countries such as Zambia and Liberia show how young voters can shape political change by turning out at the ballot box. To discuss this, we're joined now by Noxolo Gwala, International Program Officer at EISA. Noxolo, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us now. You have written about this very interesting article about voter registration, and I'm very curious about the title because I want to start there. Because I want to understand what informed the thinking around and what you're trying to raise, the right to be wrong at the ballot box. Let's just start there.
Thank you very much, Tepiso. So I think it was quite a timely message, based on the personal experiences that I've had, particularly observing elections in Liberia and Zambia, where very interesting behavior from the youth, compared to here at home, where young people actually have taken the chance at every electoral period and decided to vote according to who they believe will be right at the time. And they've also not hesitated as well to vote out leaders that do not live up to the promises they at the polls. So I thought it was a very timely message because, as you know, the IEC just concluded its final voter registration weekend.
Before we delve further into your article and the issues that you are trying to raise, it's just that I had a thought and I thought about that so that we can also lean in on your experience. You are part of, I think, the long-term observer mission at some elections that we both observed in Egypt. And one of the most interesting thing about that was, of course, youth participation was higher on the agenda. It was not long after, the Arab Spring, and we saw the kind of momentum in Egypt. But the outcome, what we finally saw at the ballot box, is in representation. Talk to me about the role of the youth, why there is hesitancy to either speak up, or why they don't find themselves as those pictures that we see that we insert into those ballot boxes.
Uh, I think that's a very valid observation, Tepiso, and we can really boil it down to, I think there's a huge part in the young people, especially in terms of mindset, where they believe that they don't have the power to necessarily dictate a change through the ballot box. And even here in South Africa, we know that almost half of these young people don't really think that their vote will make any difference, which is further from the truth, Tepi. So I think even from what we've seen in Egypt, right? So young people could take to the streets, they could mobilize and so on. But the reality is, when it came to actually standing in the queue and casting their ballot, the turnout was very, very low, which shouldn't be, because young people have the numbers advantage. They are the highest demographic, and they should effectively be able to make a change if they can just make the decision to get out and vote on election day. And I think the first step towards that is really sensitization about the importance of registering, and not waiting until you feel that, okay, we have the perfect alternative. A big excuse that we hear is that there's no party that is appealing to me, so I'll stay away. So what I was trying to say is, the biggest mistake that a young person can make is to actually decide not to turn out at all, because then you give the politicians and the political leaders an unchecked uh, run of power for the next 5 years of your life.
And do you make comparisons between Liberia and Zambia for South African youth? to learn that the mistake is not who you vote for, but not voting at all. Just take us through that.
So, in Liberia, I found it very interesting because I had the opportunity to observe the Liberian general election in 2017. And what was so interesting was that the main candidate was actually a famous Ballon d'Or winner, a football player, George Weah, and he was campaigning to be president. At first, I thought, I mean, how can that even work? Like, how can he even secure the vote because he has no serious experience or political experience to actually run a country? But he appealed amongst the young people, and those young people actually voted him into power. Fast forward Tebiso to 2023, the sentiments had changed. Young people realized that no, actually, we gave this president a chance, but he has not lived up to the promises he made, especially about making sure that we are prioritized as the youth who are bearing the struggles or the economic burdens, who are bearing all the social ills of this country and so on. And they actually managed to mobilize and vote him out once again. Zambia, for example, as well, in 2021, they managed to, the young people again managed to vote out a party that had been in power since 1998 for an opposition party to win. And that is why currently we are seeing, as well as Zambia continues to mobilize for their elections on the 13th of August, we are seeing again the UPND fighting to stay in power and really mobilizing all the resources that they have towards that. But the lesson that they know in their mind is that those same young people who could bypass a ruling party's incumbency advantage were able to still vote them out. So they understand the power of the youth. And young people are not scared to flex their democratic muscle. They are not scared to vote for someone who promises them something, and if they don't deliver, they take them out. So they are willing to test and experience different styles of leadership, which I think is very important to drive to the young people that you don't necessarily need to abstain because you believe I don't know, the country would break and so on. This is part of your rights. It's a 5-year period that they will have, and you will once again have an opportunity to correct whatever mistake that you think you might have made with your vote. So there's no such thing as you would be wasting your vote. There's no such thing as the country cannot function should you vote for someone that disappoints you.
Well, I'm sure we will have an opportunity to speak to you again for more of your insights as we go through the process of, not only the proclamation of the election date, but looking at the various parties and what they can offer to young children. Because you say South Africa, um, its democracy can survive almost anything except young people's absence at the polls. And I think it's a very important statement to make. Thank you so much, Noxolo Gwala, International Program Officer at the Electoral Institute for the Sustainable Democracy in Africa. It's exactly 7:30. Let's take you back to the news desk and say good morning once again to Shwalani Tulongwebe.
SABC